Welcome to this What's New, it's actually What's Old, key updates in our learning content for system architects and integration developers. Wow, that's a long title. But it's also a long agenda. In this video, I will show you some new guidance or documentation around integrations to and from Business Central. We'll go through an overview, and then we'll dive into Microsoft 365 or Office apps, Power Platform, Dynamics, products, and Dataverse, end up with integrating to Azure infrastructure services and a little bit on web services because that's actually the foundation for all of these integrations. Okay, let's dive into the integration overview. This piece of documentation or guidance is here for you to understand how integrations work, not necessarily why you would make such an integration. Because this part of the documentation is for you as an architect or developer to understand, first of all, what's possible and also how to troubleshoot this should you encounter any issues with any of these integrations. The diagram you see here is Business Central in the middle. On the bottom of that, we have three classes of services and products, what we call foundational services. We have Azure, we have foundational services such as Microsoft Entra, and Dynamics products and Dataverse. In the middle, you see these two integrations to and from Microsoft 365 or Office apps and Power Platform. And both of these you can think of ways to augment the out-of-the-box functionality in Business Central with more. So with all of these services, you can simply do more with Business Central and these augmented products. And then on top of the diagram, you see things or apps that build on top of Business Central. Connect apps is where you integrate to APIs. Microsoft apps, think of this as out-of-the-box supplied apps to do integration to Shopify and banking and others. And then the full suite of Microsoft AppSource apps where you can install those and integrate to anything you like. The integration overview, I'll just show you a snippet of that. With all the different things I show you here, there's also both the actual page, but also on the table of content to the left in the page, also a way to navigate to that content and expand each of these topics. So let's dive in. There's a new landing page called aka.ms/BC integration. Let's take a look and see how it looks. All right, so using the new AKA link, I go to Docs, and here you can see the new integration overview. Each of the topics you see in the diagram has its own section here. So for instance, if I click here in this article, integrating to Office apps and Microsoft 365, I get a quick overview of what is possible, including a link here if I want to dive further in. And that's the kind of the structure of the overall integration overview. It gives you a snippet of information and you can dive into more details. So let's quickly dive into integrating to Microsoft 365 or Office apps. Here you see a diagram with different arrows to and from Business Central that also indicates whether information is going to and from Business Central from these apps. And going into the overview article, you can see that we have integration to Excel, Word, Outlook, and so on, both into the overview article, and you can dive further in. If we talk about the other augment class of services, Power Platform, most of these integrate with REST APIs using the Power Platform connector. That is covered in depth, both in the new overview article on Power Platform integration, and also linking to all the different detailed documentation for each of the Power Platform products. Integrating with Dynamics products and Dataverse can happen both through the connector and also through various different data integration methods. And therefore, it comes with an overview article that explains the 4 different types of integration: data synchronization, data virtualization, change events, and the new business events. So go there and check it out if you want to integrate with Dataverse and also some of the Dynamics products that come with the Dataverse integration. Business Central allows you to integrate with a variety of Azure services. Most of these is through the HTTP client data type in AL, and then there are various system modules that encapsulate the Azure APIs, so to make it easier to connect to these services. So there are many different types of integrations. Application Insights is actually built in, so this is telemetry, but we have Azure Blob services, file services, Azure Functions, and a few more in there. So in case you need to integrate to an Azure service, it might be that there's already support for that in a system application module. Infrastructure services or foundational services. This is where you see things like Microsoft Entra for authentication, authorization, where you have Universal Print, and upcoming also Microsoft Purview for audit purposes or audit functionality. So all of these also come with its own article and documentation, so go check that out. There are probably a few things within within Microsoft Entra that could be of interest. This is, for instance, where you can restrict, did you know that you can restrict network access to and from Business Central using Azure Security Service Tags that also is part of this. And then finally, we updated the web service documentation with a new overview of that. So my Business Central supports 3 different ways to integrate to web services: REST APIs, which is what you should use, and then OData and SOAP, these legacy ways to enable web services through pages, queries, and or code units. And this also has a fairly decent update in documentation, both for security, for troubleshooting, performance, errors, and so on. So go check that out, or at least familiarize yourself with the new content. So in case you would need to troubleshoot anything, you know what's there. So that's it. There are some go-dos. Of course, memorize the new AKA link, BC integration. Basically, whenever you start something new, try to go to Docs and start your learning. We try to put everything there so that you don't have to go and look on the internet on some obscure blogs. Maybe this is already covered in the official documentation. And when in doubt about how something works or how we can troubleshoot, I encourage you to go to Docs. I think you might be you might see that it's probably already explained there whatever issue you have. And if you're an expert on something and you know this is not in Docs, then do a pull request and help others by making the documentation better. And of course, if there's something completely missing, let us know and we'll work on adding that content. Other sessions that might be of relevant for you, for developers, if in case you're into integrations, maybe you're also into web services, so there's a session for what's new in web services. And similarly for integration, there's actually a full session on what's new, updates in documentation for core AL developers. So if you consider yourself a core AL developer, go check that session out as well. Other relevant sessions here in the BCLE for integrations could be the new way to integrate to field service. There's a session on that. New stuff on Power Platform, a session on that, and the What's New session on integrating with Dataverse, so go check that out as well. As always, we have resources, different AKA links. So for questions or discussions, BC Yammer is your friend. BC All is the AKA link that try to give you all the AKA links, so one link to rule them all. BC Ideas, if you have ideas for improvements in the product or features. We have various social media, so on X there's a hashtag for BC MS Dynamics or DIN 365 BC. We are active on Twitter and on LinkedIn, and of course we have Office Hours, BC Office Hours, where you can both participate and also you can see previous recordings. That's it. Thank you for watching and have a great launch event.